Imagine walking into a bank, politely handing over your check, only for the teller to smirk, rip it in half, and dismiss you like you were nothing. Most people would walk out humiliated. But this woman? She came back just hours later as the new owner of the very bank branch that had disrespected her. It was a regular Tuesday morning when Sarah Williams, a hardworking businesswoman, walked into the Maplewood Bank branch. She had just closed a major deal and was holding a check worth $75,000, the biggest she'd ever received. Excited and a little nervous, she approached the counter and handed it to the teller. Instead of congratulations or respect, the teller sneered. "Checks this big don't belong in your hands. Probably fake." Before Sarah could respond, the teller ripped the check in half and tossed it into the trash. The entire line behind her gasped. The humiliation burned. Security was called, and she was escorted out like a criminal. Sarah drove home in tears, replaying the humiliation. But then, anger replaced embarrassment. She wasn't just some customer. She was an entrepreneur, a risk-taker, someone who had clawed her way up from nothing, and this wasn't the first time she'd been underestimated. As a woman in business, she'd heard no more times than she could count. But this time, something snapped. She decided she would never again let anyone have that kind of power over her. If they didn't think she belonged in that bank, she'd own it instead. Most people would laugh at such a thought. Own the bank? Impossible. But Sarah had something most didn't: vision and timing. She called her lawyer and explained what had happened. To her surprise, the lawyer told her the bank's branch division was already struggling. Declining profits, high turnover, and an aging building that corporate was considering offloading. Sarah moved fast. She called her investors, people who had believed in her business before it became successful. She pitched them a new deal. They wouldn't just cash checks at that bank anymore. They would buy the entire branch. That same afternoon, while the teller probably bragged about catching a fraud, Sarah was in a boardroom finalizing paperwork. With her investors, she put together an offer that corporate couldn't refuse. Within hours, the deal was approved. By the end of the day, Sarah Williams was the new owner of the Maplewood Bank branch. The news spread like wildfire. Local papers picked it up. Entrepreneur buys bank that refused her service. The next morning, Sarah walked back into the branch, but this time, not as a customer. Every employee stood in shock as the regional manager introduced her. "Everyone, meet your new branch owner, Mrs. Sarah Williams." The teller who had torn up her check nearly fainted. Sarah didn't yell. She didn't gloat. She simply smiled and said, "Next time a customer hands you a check, remember, it might just belong to the person who signs your paycheck." Sarah's story isn't just about revenge. It's about resilience. When people tried to tear her down, literally, she built herself up higher. The truth is, life will hand you disrespect, rejection, and humiliation. But those moments can either break you or become the fuel that makes you unstoppable. So the next time someone underestimates you, just remember, the person who doubts you today may be working for you tomorrow.